Jaya Shri Giri Varadhari. This is Krishna who lifted Govardhana Hill. So the title of my talk today is Krishna Lifts Govardhana Hill. Today is Govardhan Puja. It's a very special day in the Vaishnava calendar to celebrate the fact that Krishna lifted Govardhana Hill some 5,000 years ago. And to have a great celebration, which of course we're a little limited these days, but most of the temples would be having wonderful celebrations and cooking a lot of food and making a mountain of rice and prasad, offering it to Krishna, and it is a day of great celebration. So let us begin, my friends. I hope this presentation is to your liking. I've spent a lot of time on it. Many years ago, thousands of years ago, Bhumi, goddess of the earth, had become overburdened by the forces of darkness and destruction, who were posing as earthly kings and their armies. Might remind you a little bit of today. So she approached Lord Brahma, the creator, and asked him to ask Vishnu, God, to relieve her of her burden. So Brahma, Bhumi, and the various demigods then approached Vishnu. They went to the ocean of milk in this universe where Vishnu is residing. They could not see him or approach him directly, but Brahma interceded on their behalf, and he spoke to Vishnu by first going into meditation. So Vishnu was on an island way out in the ocean of milk, which maybe, I don't know if they could see him or not see him. He was way out there, but they could not speak to him directly. They had to do it through Brahma. And Vishnu answered Brahma through meditation that he agreed to descend to earth and help relieve the burden. So the demigods, including Indra, king of the gods, also had accompanied Brahma there. And Vishnu said he would take an incarnation to stem the tide of the dark demoniac forces on the earth. However, no one knew exactly when that would be or the form in which Vishnu would take for that particular incarnation or avatar. So Dwapara Yuga, this is the past Yuga. We are in the Kali Yuga, the Dark Ages right now. And this is the winter of the universe, Kali Yuga. I don't think I have to convince you that we are in the darkest time in the 4 seasons, universal seasons of time. If you don't believe me, please read the news. So this was the previous Yuga or epoch. Kali Yuga began 5,000 years ago, according to our time. So Krishna took birth right at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared on earth through his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva. It was a kingly or princely family in which he took birth, but immediately he was separated from his parents because he was under threat to be killed off by the wicked King Kamsa. Therefore, he had to be relocated to the rural village of Vrindavan, which was run by Vaishyas or cowherd people, dairy farmers, grain farmers, and this was Vrindavan. And he was given to the care of Nanda and Yashoda, and it was Nanda Maharaj, the king of the cowherds in the village and the area of Vrindavan, and Yashoda was his wife. So he was their foster child for the first part of his life. Not everybody who came into contact with Krishna, even in those beginning years, the early childhood, knew that he was actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada, our founder, my guru, actually explains that perhaps only 1 to 200 persons actually knew of his true or real identity as God. Even Indra, the king of the gods in the universe, and Brahma, the creator of all the diversity within in the universe, they themselves did not know what form he would take and when he would appear. So typically in an agricultural community, Vaishyas would, Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd in the cowherd community of Vrindavan, at the time of a harvest would typically conduct an Indra yajna. Indra, not only being king of the gods, is the god in charge of rain, lightning, thunder. So he's the rain god. So they would conduct a yajna or a sacrifice for Indra to pacify Indra and thank him for the bounty of the harvest and for helping him throughout the years. I think I'm having a problem and my video has now stalled. I apologize for that, my friends. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to reboot and restart. So please be patient with me. Didn't mean for this to happen. Okay. I think I'm live again. Could somebody send me a text to let me know? I think I'm back on air. So, sorry, technical difficulties. So to continue, in those days, the riches of an agricultural community, well, perhaps in these days too, but less so now, they were measured not by money, paper money or gold coins. They were measured in grains and livestock. And Nanda had 900,000 cows. I wish somebody would send me a message just to make sure that that I am on air, okay? Thank you. So he had 900,000 cows, and grains, vegetables, and milk products were the symbols of true wealth. Well, my friends, they are still the symbols of true wealth. Why? Because you can eat grains, vegetables, and milk products. You can live off them. You cannot live off of paper money and gold coins. Look what happened in Venezuela. The economy crashed. In the gutters along the streets, you could find stacks of money just lying around, and nobody was nobody picked it up. Nobody was interested in the money. I'm still a little bit not sure here what's going on. Okay, so I'll continue. Sorry about that. So what do we find in Bhagavad Gita? In Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, it says, Krishi Gorakshavanijam, Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, trade, and commerce are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas. So the society is divided into 4 groups: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. Vaishyas are the ones who produce the economy. And that was the community in which Krishna lived and in which he grew up. Krishi means cultivation, agriculture. Vanija means commerce, trade, and merchandise. And Goraksha means cow protection. Cows were always protected. Go is cow. From the Sanskrit word go, we get the root of the Sanskrit word go is gao. And from that, we get the English word cow. Raksha means to protect, not to kill, not to slaughter, not to eat, to protect. Why do they protect the cows? Why are cows considered to be sacred in the Vedic system, in the yoga philosophy? Because cows are a symbol of the mother. They're a mother symbol. Symbols have power, potency, and meaning, and cows are symbolic of a mother. Why? Because after a baby finishes breastfeeding, the baby goes to cow's milk. Cow's milk is the single best perfect milk for a baby after breast milk. So symbols are important in our world. All countries have symbols. The symbolic flag, which represents the country. If you go to a certain country and attack their flag, this could raise a lot of ire, a lot of reaction, and who knows what will happen to you. People wouldn't like it. So symbols have power and potency and meaning. Okay, same as the cow. In this age, Kali Yuga, instead of protecting the cow and acknowledging her as a universal mother symbol, we protect and worship whom? Cats, dogs, whales, dolphins. Well, shouldn't they be protected and looked after? Yes, they should be. But why not the cow? Because meat eating has been introduced to us, and typically it's beef from the cow, pork from the pig, mutton from the sheep. These are the primary forms of food. Chicken, I shouldn't forget. Turkey, duck, I could add to the list. But cow is something that should never be killed or eaten because of the mother symbol. So if we had been raised differently and had those of us among us who eat meat, and the cow would have been protected, it would have changed a lot of what goes on in this world, because as we kill the cow, we get collective negative reaction for killing that symbol. All right. Harvest traditions. In many places throughout the world, throughout civilizations, there are traditions around harvest time. So various rites and rituals are performed throughout history in these places. The Druids and the ancient Irish, the Celts, celebrate Samhain at this time of year, which celebrates the dead in a festival on October 31st. Also, the Mexicans celebrate the Day of the Dead around that time. In Ireland, they usually have a bonfire, and this also marks the end of the harvest. So it came time for the Indra Yagya in Vrindavan, sacrifice to appease Indra. And Nanda, Maharaj Nanda, King Nanda, Krishna's foster father, argued that it is our duty as citizens to pay tribute to the demigods. Demigods are like angels, archangels, those who run the affairs of the universe. For services rendered, pay tribute for services rendered, just as nowadays we pay taxes to the government for services rendered. As we pay fees for taxes, water, electricity, so we also need to pay tribute to and recognize the demigods or celestial beings who control the universe, send us sunshine and rain. That is what Nanda and the cowherd men were thinking, and that is what they were doing. Is there something wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with it, but there is a higher spiritual understanding that rather than worship demigods or angels or archangels, these people in subordinate positions, why not worship God? Because that will automatically include the lesser gods, the devas, the angels, without having to include them all separately. And the example that's given is watering the root of a tree. You don't have to water all the branches and leaves of a tree. You only have to water the root, and everything that is connected to the tree, fruits, flowers included, is fed, is replenished. There's an interesting quote in the Mahabharata. By begetting children, one pays off one's debt to the ancestors. By studying the Vedas or holy books, one pays off one's debt to the sages. And by performing sacrifice, sacred acts such as meditation, fasting, chanting mantra, or prayers of praise and gratitude dedicated to God, one pays off one's debt to God. End of the quote. So why do we worship God? Well, worshiping God is acknowledging or recognizing God and expressing our gratitude for the bounty that we receive. Everything here. This is a gift. Everything on the planet is a gift. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, the fundamental elements from which everything is made, from which everything grows, from which everything comes. So that's the whole concept. It further says in the Bhagavad Gita, which of course was spoken by Krishna in his adulthood, Kamaistai hritagyana prapadyante nyadevata. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desire surrender unto demigods. So what does that mean? Materialists or materialistic people are more inclined to worship the demigods or the lesser gods. Materialists or people who have material desires, as opposed to people who are more spiritually inclined and whose desires, not say they don't have any material desires, but their desires are largely spiritual in nature, to feed the spirit, not just the body. So what do we have in recent times in terms of our acknowledgement and recognition of God? In recent times, people worship or acknowledge God less and less. They have lost their faith and their belief mostly. Why? Why have they lost their faith and belief? It's mostly due to religion. What do you mean? How could it be due to religion? It's not so much religion in and of itself. There's nothing wrong with religion. It's who represents the religion and how the religion is being presented. So we see in Christianity, a lot of people have fallen away, especially in Catholicism, because of the behaviors of the priests. I know there are many sincere Christians and Catholics out there, believe me, and I know them, lots of them. In Islam, people have fallen away because of the extremism that you find in Islam. I have a lot of friends and acquaintances who are Muslims and are very, very good people. So I'm not, throwing them all together. That's not what I mean. But when things like that happen and people who claim to represent a religion act in a very negative or harmful manner by sexually abusing children or blowing people up, people become disillusioned with religion, and subsequently they'll get disillusioned with God. Think about it. So people are following God less and less and worshiping what instead? Because we always got to worship something. We always got to focus on something that we admire or appreciate. So then they have become or put their worship into science and materialism more and more. So then you must ask yourself, in whom shall I place my faith? Scientists, materialists, or God? Many have chosen atheistic scientists as their gods. So what are you going to do, these people, at the time of death, right? Are you going to, instead of calling on God, are you going to call on, oh, Stephen Hawking, please save me, show me the way, show me the light. Oh, Charles Darwin, please protect me so I don't take birth in the Galapagos Islands and become the evolutionary missing link. Is that what you're going to do? But you got to place your faith in something. So let's understand, what is faith as opposed to religion? So Prabhupada, our founder, explains it very nicely. He says, faith or shraddha can be changed because it is temporary. Real religion or Dharma cannot be changed because it is eternal. Religion which can be changed is not true religion. Hindus can become Christians, Jews can become Buddhists, back and forth, whatever. These are examples of a change of faith. Religion is Dharma. Dharma means the law of God. It is eternal and unchangeable. This world is constantly changing. The only thing you can depend on in this world is change. The difference between the material world, where everything is changing, and the spiritual world is that nothing changes in the spiritual world. Everything stays the same. It's dependable, it's reliable, and that's its function. So you say that you have faith in a particular religion, but it's not faith in religion, it's faith in a particular dogma. So each religion purports a specific dogma. Eternal religion in Vedanta, in Bhagavad Dharma, in the yoga system is called Sanatan Dharma, which means what? It means the eternal religion. Is always and in everything the same. It is service to God. Eternal religion is service to God. We serve everybody. We serve our loved ones, our families. We serve our bosses, our employers. We serve our customers, our clients. We serve our communities. We may serve our nation. There's all kinds of things. We may be doing charitable work, which of course is of great value. We may be on the front lines in the medical hospitals, as we have seen nowadays with the virus going on. So But the eternal religion is service to God. If God's the source of everything, then service to God is number one. That is eternal Dharma. Talking about changing Dharma. Years ago, when the Christians began to come to India, which was that, what was that, a couple hundred years ago or so, or longer. The Portuguese in particular came to South India, and they brought their Christian missionaries with them who wanted to get busy and convert the people. So, especially in the state of Kerala, this caught on it became very popular. Why? The people there were called rice Christians. Rice Christians were made or converted by the missionaries by offering the people food, clothing, and education in exchange for their change of faith and their adherence to Christian dogma and belief. They left the Sanatan Dharma and they went to Rice Christian Dharma. So, if our duty and our eternal duty is to serve God, how do we do this? Well, there are many ways to do it. Here we recommend the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. What is it? The Maha Mantra, which most people are familiar with, are simply the names of God. Krishna, Hari, and or Hara, the feminine. Hari is another name for Krishna or Vishnu, and Rama. This is a transcendental sound vibration from the spiritual realm. This is not from this realm. It's from the spiritual realm. It is not simply some form of religious ritual to appease God. It has purificatory relevance, since it will, number one, chanting the mantra, which is worshiping God by chanting the mantra, cleanses the mirror of the mind from past life impressions. How many past life impressions? There are thousands of past lives, my friends. If you've made it all the way up to the human form of life, there have been thousands of past lives, perhaps more. Number two, it removes your negative karmic reactions from those past lives and from this lifetime. And number three, ultimately, it spiritualizes your being. That's what we recommend. That is a simple, easy form of serving God. Anyone can do it, even a child. So, Krishna, here's the big question. Why did Krishna tell his father Nanda to worship Govardhana Hill instead of worshiping or doing a sacrifice for Indra, the king of the gods? Also bear in mind, Krishna was only 7 years old. He was a 7-year-old child. Okay, here he is, he's talking to his father, and all the cowherd men who are going to spend a lot of time, effort, and accumulate paraphernalia to do this very elaborate and time-consuming sacrifice to appease Indra, the king of the gods. So Krishna went about convincing them to do otherwise. Now you got to understand that this had been their what they did every time at harvest time. This has been something that was followed for hundreds of years or many generations, right? So he had to convince them. So how did he go about this? Historically, sacred hills and mountains are central to certain religious or spiritual beliefs and are also the subject of many legends. For many, the most symbolic aspect of a mountain is its peak. Why? Because it has been believed in various civilizations that the peak of the mountain is close to heaven or the higher planetary systems. So many religions have traditions centered on sacred hills or mountains, which are considered holy or are related to famous events, such as Govardhana Hill. Mount Kailas, the abode of the god and goddess Shiva and Parvati, is also another example. Also, Uluru, Ayers Rock, is also held to be sacred by the Aboriginals in Australia. Also, Mount Meru, which is in the center of our universe, around which everything orbits, from the pole star as its anchor, which we cannot see Mount Meru, is another example. So, Krishna, at the age of 7, convinced his father, Nanda, and the other cowherd men to worship Govardhana Hill because it sustained the cows. Why? Because the cows would graze on Govardhana Hill and eat the sweet grasses and also drink the water from streams that were on the hill, right? That was the exoteric reason, the external reason. And the esoteric reason was that Govardhana Hill was no different than Krishna himself. For energetically, he, as God, had entered into it. So that's why he told them to worship Govardhana Hill, both for the cows and for the fact that it had become spiritualized by his presence. But he didn't tell them that part necessarily at that time. So what did Indra do? Well, Indra was keeping an eye on things there, looking down in Vrindavan, and was not very happy that this Indra Yagya was not going to be performed by these uppity cowherd men, which they should be doing in order to appease him. So he became angry, and he began to bring down a deluge of rain and thunder and lightning, very, very extreme, to inundate the whole area and cause flooding. And this was his means of punishing them for not doing what they were supposed to do, what they had always done. So Krishna then did what he is famous for. He lifted Govardhana Hill and held it on the little finger of his left hand. This became their umbrella. How big is Govardhana Hill? It is 5 to 6 miles in diameter. All the residents of Vrindavan, including the cows and all of the people and all the other animals, huddled together under the hill, and this protected them from the onslaught, the deluge, the downpour, which is described even as there were pillars, literally pillars of water coming down in the rain, just beating down on them. What was the cloud? The cloud that Indra would summon at the time of the destruction of a particular creation cycle. Samvartika cloud, I think it was called. If I'm not mistaken, you can write me a note if I'm mispronouncing it. And he brought that cloud, which is like the cloud you summon when you're going to cause a flood and wipe out the entire planet or the entire universe. Same concept. Noah's Ark, if you remember the biblical story. So that's what he did. he held up Govardhana Hill, and Indra threw his best at him, all his intensity, and he could see that how could this little boy, this 7-year-old boy, be lifting up a hill, number one? How could he lift it on his little finger, number two? How could he sustain that for 7 days and 7 nights under this deluge? This is not an ordinary child. Uh-oh. Who did I mess with? Who am I punishing? Exactly. Who is this? So here, Prabhupada, our founder, says, quote, when Krishna saved the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the wrath of Indra by lifting Govardhana Hill, King Indra then appeared before him. Conscious of his offense before Krishna, he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of Krishna. Indra now understood the exalted position of Krishna, because Krishna is the master of Indra, but he could not believe that Krishna would come down and live in a community like Vrindavan among cowherd people. Because generally, when Vishnu would send down an incarnation, an avatar, they would normally appear in the family of kings or princes, administrators of the people, or in Brahmin families, priests and sadhus. But here he was in a Vaishya family, farmers, dairy farmers. So that was a mystery to him. When Krishna defied the authority of Indra, this is Prabhupada continuing, Indra had become angry because he thought that he was the all in all within this universe. He was king of the gods. And that no one was as powerful as he. But after this incident, his false, puffed up prestige was destroyed. Being conscious of his subordinate position, he appeared before Krishna with folded hands and began to offer prayers. You see, my friends, even people who are demigods from heavenly planets, higher planets, angels, archangels. Remember what happened with Lucifer, with Satan. He got too big for his britches. This is an inflated ego. Even these people will have inflated ego from time to time and think that they're better than what they are. So that's what happened. When Krishna was talking to the cowherd men to convince them to forego the worship of Indra, the Indra Yagya, and instead to worship Govardhana Hill, the cowherd men were kind of scratching their heads and going, we are so drawn to this boy. I mean, it's like, how are grown men listening to a 7-year-old? And foregoing everything they've been doing for their entire lives and doing something different on the advice of a 7-year-old. Of course, this is not any 7-year-old. This is Krishna. And what they said was, they said, my dear Nanda, we do not know why we are so attracted by your son, Krishna. We want to forget him, but this is impossible. Why are we so naturally affectionate toward him? Just imagine how wonderful this is. On the one hand, he's only a boy of 7 years old. And on the other hand, there's this huge hill, Govardhana, 6-7 miles in diameter, and he lifts it so easily and holds it up. We are now in great doubt about the origins of your boy, Nanda. Your son Krishna must be one of the demigods. At the very least, he is not an ordinary boy, or maybe he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was their conclusion. The word Krishna means all attractive, most attractive. If you were to see Krishna, my friends, if he were to appear in front of you now, you would be like this. Oh my God. You would be completely mesmerized by his beauty, his mannerisms, his gentleness, his lotus eyes, his wonderful low voice, and his ways. You would not be able to take your eyes off of him. And having seen him, you would never ever forget him. And you would yearn to be with him always and to know him closely, more intimately, in whatever rasa, as a friend, in whatever rasa suits you. Rasa means relationship. I suggest that you meditate on Krishna and watch over time how as he begins to reciprocate with you in so many little ways, in giving signs and opening your heart and bringing you revelation, realization, and enlightening you from within. And when you start undergoing this process, it's just nothing like it. And it's a yearning to get closer and closer to him, so that finally, one day, he will actually appear before you. Does he appear in your meditation? He can appear in your meditation any day. You can sit down, go into meditation in a deep state of relaxation, and just envision him and his counterpart Radha, as you see behind me, and speak to him and listen to what he has to say. I urge you to do that. Don't take my word. Test it out for yourself. So, when Krishna was born, they brought the priest, Gargamuni, to see the baby, to look at the markings, the physiognomy, samudraka, the markings on the face, the hands, the feet, the whole body, and also to look at his horoscope, his kundali, his Jyotish birth chart, and from that to determine who had taken birth, who was this soul, who was this person. And that's what Gargamuni did. And he said the following. Gargamuni said that formerly Krishna in other lifetimes had saved the world from an unregulated condition. Wow. Sounds like now in our world seems to be going to hell in a handbasket, as the expression goes. A lot of conflict in our world. Many Western countries are in conflict with people marching in the streets and protesting, and it's a very intense time. Gargamuni continued, he saved all honest men from the hands of dishonest thieves. That's his job. He also said that any fortunate man who becomes attached to this boy, Krishna, is never vanquished or defeated by his enemy. Wow. That's the result when you align yourself with God, Krishna. On the whole, he continues, on the whole, he is exactly like Lord Vishnu, who always takes the side of the demigods. Demigods in this sense means the suras, the believers, those people who are theists, who believe in God, who are pious souls, good souls, which includes you. He takes the side of the demigods who are consequently never defeated by the demons. Gargamuni has thus concluded that Krishna would grow up to be exactly like Vishnu in transcendental beauty, qualifications, activities, influence, and opulence. And so we should not be very astonished by his wonderful activities. So what did he do, Krishna, in the lifting of Govardhana Hill? Firstly, he's Bhagavan, God possessing 6 opulences in full. He demonstrated 2 of these opulences or powers. Number 1, Virya, as being all powerful. How did he do that? He lifted the huge hill of Govardhan. Number 2, he demonstrated his omniscience, his all-seeing eye. In what way? And this, of course, is called jnana. Knows everything. He's the knower of everything. That's the definition of God. You know some things. Your friends know some things. I know some things. We all know some things. A few things. But we don't know everything. Only God does. And how did he do that? He knew what Indra was going to do before he did it. He knew what would happen. So, there are also diabolical forces in operation on the earth right now, my friends. They are trying to amalgamate everybody and bring them together like sheep in a corral. They're trying to depersonalize everybody. They're using what is the thing they're using to do this? Fear, my friends. They're spreading fear far and wide around the world. Millions of people in hundreds of countries, I should say. And what's the benefit? Well, if they can get people to do, everybody to do the same thing, they can control them so much more easily. They flu, hundreds of thousands of people die from the flu every year. So what are they going to do? Ruining the economy, closing businesses, millions of people out of work, which causes governments to therefore borrow money in order to give it to the people so that the people can live, to give them a stipend, sustenance, sustain them from week to week so they can eat and live. And the governments are going into huge debt. To whom are they going into huge debt? The banks? No, to the people who have all the money. Billionaires, trillionaires, whoever's behind the scenes manipulating all of this. So that's what I'm looking at as the diabolicals that are behind things in this world, trying to control everybody through fear. I know all of you don't believe that, and I know all of you don't agree with it. That's fine. It's an opinion. So, to conclude, what was the purpose, or what is the purpose of Govardhan Puja? The worship of Govardhan Hill, it is 5-fold. Number 1, to give thanks to God for the bountiful harvest. To all the things we have, if you're still eating, and most of us are still eating, at least in the Western world, to give thanks for that. I'm sorry if you've lost your job. I sincerely feel very badly about that. And your businesses are being closed, and we are under lockdown. We are under lockdown, and we are under masks. Like it's like a plutocracy. It's being run by a plutocracy, where the wealthy are controlling everything. Number 2, to demonstrate the inconceivable energy or mysticism of Krishna, who is known as Yogeshvara, the Lord of Yoga. God can take any form, animate or inanimate. Animate is his life expression, like Krishna. Inanimate means he can enter into any object, such as wood, stone, metal, Shalagram Shila, which is stone, or even Govardhana Hill. And that's why the deities made out of wood, like Jagannath, stone, like Radha Govinda in Northern Ireland, in Govinda Dweep, metal, I'm going to think of that was made out of metal, Govindaji, I think, in India. Anyway, why does God enter into an inanimate form? Because we do not have the qualification or the realization to see him directly, so he accepts our worship and our service by taking these forms and appearing in these forms. That's how that works. Number 3, God descends with his paraphernalia. Govardhana Hill is part of his paraphernalia, and it is known to be Mount Meru. It's actual Mount Meru, the mount that runs through the center of the universe, that has been brought down to earth. And for thousands of years now, people circumambulate. They walk clockwise around Govardhana Hill to clear the negative karmic reaction. Number 4, to demonstrate the inconceivable power of Krishna. As a 7-year-old boy, he lifted the hill with the little finger of his left hand. Inconceivable. The Christians go on and on about miracles. They're very focused on miracles. They're miracle-centric. In Vedanta and Bhagavad Dharma, we don't talk about miracles. We just talk about Leela. We talk about pastimes. This God did this, and he did that, and he did this, he did that, and in these various avatars and incarnations. Yes, are they normal activities? No, they're far beyond that. Are they miraculous in nature? Yes, of course they're miraculous in nature for looking at it from our perspective, but they're normal behavior for somebody like Krishna. That's normal behavior. He did all kinds of things that would all of which would be regarded as miracles. And number 5 out of those 5 points, to teach Indra, the king of the gods, a lesson in humility. Those who are proud, arrogant, narcissistic, puffed up, thinking they're superior to everybody else, they get their karmic comeuppance. They need a lesson in reducing their self-inflation. That's what Indra needed, and that's what he got, to show Indra that a mere hill was more worshipable than he himself. Can you imagine Indra's reaction to that? And that God himself, even in the form of a 7-year-old boy, was more powerful than the king of the gods, Indra. I hope this has been of interest to you. Some inspiration, perhaps, would be my hope. I thank you for your kind attention. I apologize for the technical glitch near the beginning. I hope you join me for my next talk on the Dublin Krishna Temple live stream, which will be on December 20th. Until then, Hare Krishna, Namaste, Jai, Girivardhari, Krishna Lifting Govardhana Hill. Thank you very much, my friends.